Welcome to the 2023 edition of the South Dakota High School Baseball Hall of Fame Show. Today we'll highlight the 8 individuals and the 1 team that will be inducted to the Hall. Here's a look at them. Travis Devine of Yankton, Jason Smith of O'Gorman, Jacoby Anderson of Brookings, Nolan Burchell of Lincoln, Griffin Lockwood-Powell of Lincoln, Spencer Coolwine of Sioux Falls Christian, Chase Corton of Bonhomme, and Jed Schmidt of Mitchell. And then we've got the undefeated 2017 Roosevelt Rough Riders. Let's start this list of legends with Travis Devine. Travis Devine of Yankton got a chance to play varsity baseball early in his high school career, and he made the most of it.
I worked hard. I got the starting spot at third base. So I was a starting third baseman sophomore, junior, senior year, and got all state honors, third base, sophomore, junior, senior years. So that was definitely on the top of the highlight reel for high school baseball for me.
He couldn't wait for baseball season, so an early spring start was a bonus.
You know, you go through a long winter of not really – I mean, you're working out, but you're ready to start baseball. You know, not in June, May, June, but, you know, I was excited that, you know, we're going to start baseball in April now. And, you know, I was ready. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
A successful career culminated in a trip to the championship game in 2004, but the memories still stand firm in Travis's mind. One of his favorites he likes to tell his kids about.
Canary Stadium, I hit a home run there, and I actually hit it out of the stadium. So every time we drive by there, I'm always like, "Hey, see that stadium? Yeah, I hit a home run out of that stadium." And they're like, "Geez, Dad, we've heard this 100 times. You don't need to tell us every time we drive by."
And says he couldn't have done it without his support system.
Mom and Dad for sure. I don't think they ever missed a baseball game, football game of mine or my brothers. Andy Bernardo, you know, giving me the chance as a sophomore to start on a varsity high school baseball team at third base, you know, that was huge, and it stuck through high school, Legion, you know, so that, yeah, coaches for sure.
Next up, Jason Smith. He isn't a South Dakota native, but he made the most of his 2 years here. The O'Gorman catcher and shortstop earned back-to-back All-State awards to finish out his high school career. In 2002, he joined the newly formed O'Gorman high school team.
How welcoming they were, you know, like Tom Hill, all those guys.
Smith was an All-State player 2 times, and in the summer, he earned MVP with Sioux Falls West, along with a Legion title. He finally decided to play at Northern Iowa, a Division I Missouri Valley school.
I caught, and then on scout day, I threw, I think, 86 from behind the plate. So they said, "Why don't you put him on the mound?" And so then they would catch me and then pitch me, and then I had Tommy John. Then I went back to Penn State. They're the best turf school probably in the nation, and got my turf degree there, and I've been a gypsy ever since.
Jason's thankful for his time at O'Gorman and the support he got from his family.
I mean, obviously my parents, you know, like, I mean, without him, I mean, nothing would have gotten done, honestly. I mean, my chores were not to mow the lawn or do anything like that. It was to hit 100 balls to right field off the tee, 100 balls to center field, 100 balls to left every day. He'd have me in a mask in the living room and just throwing tennis balls at my face saying, "Don't blink, stop blinking." But I mean, all this stuff that, like, back in the day I thought was child abuse, like, it really did make me the player that I was. My mom and my dad, you know, my wife wasn't there at the time, but I mean, she's everything in my life, and also my 8-year-old is everything in my life.
Jacoby Anderson, he was a three-sport athlete at Brookings High School, a kicker in football, a goalie in hockey, and one of the most versatile players on the baseball field. Jacoby's career took off in his sophomore season.
When I first, started that season, I was playing JV baseball, mainly as a hitter and playing the position in the field, whether it was third base, catcher. On varsity, I was doing a lot of the pitching that year. And then I remember we were about a quarter away into the season. We had an injury, and the coaches asked me if I wanted to be a catcher and give it a shot. So that sophomore year, I started catching, and from there on, I played varsity baseball pretty much all the way through.
Anderson went on to become an all-state performer in his junior year and his senior season, and he says his family was always there to support him, even if they were brutally honest once in a while, including the championship game.
We were just really close to, knocking him off, and my dad always still blame it on Coach Hershoff, who left me in there too long. I could hear him yelling in the background, "Take him out! He's done! Stick a fork in him!" And I think it was the very next pitch, Taylor Melhoff took that ball and hit a home run. First and foremost, my parents. They've been my supporters, from day one. They've always been the ones that have encouraged me to try my best and, work hard. And especially my mom, she's always the one that was, the cheerleader out in the stands with the noisemakers. Not that she wanted the attention, but knowing that I have a hearing loss and a hearing disability, that she wanted to make sure that I could hear her cheering in the stands. Then you got my dad, who's kind of the excellent and always guy. He was always the one that would have the pep talks after games with me. And I loved him. I really want to, my siblings, they've always been strong supporters. My oldest sister, Mel, and then my oldest brother, Chris, and then of course, Shelly. And then my closest brother, Curtis. But those are the guys that made me better at baseball. And of course, I appreciate them for doing so.
After graduating high school in 2005, he went on to play at Ridgewater in the spring of 06 and 07, and then played at Augustana in 08 and 09. He then had an opportunity to play overseas with the USA Athletes International, where he spent time in Australia and Europe. When we come back, we'll induct a pair of Patriots that each put up an astounding high school career and vaulted themselves into dynamic D1 opportunities. Welcome back to the 2023 South Dakota High School Baseball Association Hall of Fame show. Nolan Burchell found out quickly that he belonged on the varsity field. As a freshman, he stepped in a key role to pitch, and from then on, was one of the best pitchers to ever hurl it in South Dakota high school baseball history.
They called me off the bench first game, and I think I pitched like 4 or 5 innings against Yankton in our first game. So yeah, I got the chance to play pretty early on pitch, and then I played a little bit of outfield my freshman year too. And
in Nolan's sophomore season, he was part of a state championship team for Lincoln.
Facing Pierre, I knew I was gonna pitch, and I honestly don't remember all the stats or everything. That was a ways back, but I think I pitched for a majority of the game. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Remember dogpiling, everyone being so happy, and we had a good group of seniors that year that kind of filled out, juniors and seniors that kind of filled out our lineup, and so it was really fun to get them a win when you're kind of a younger guy, just kind of trying not to overstep or anything like that. But it was a fun year for sure.
As a junior, he pitched 32 1/3 innings, where he averaged 1.6 strikeouts per inning. As a senior, he once again earned All-State recognition and committed to the University of Minnesota to be a pitcher. He wants to show gratitude for all that helped making him who he was.
There's a lot of people that I can thank, first going out to my parents, my dad, my mom, and my brothers. The amount of travel that they put in, as well as, my coaches at Lincoln growing up, Coach Wes when we were sophomores, and then Jordan Johnson. I've known him for a super long time. He actually used to babysit me growing up when I was in middle school. So Mick Tolson was another assistant coach that helped out Jordan and the team when we were playing there. And but there's a ton of people that I can thank. My travel ball coach Drew Skelhouse and everyone involved at the Titans. To just continue to get better. Yeah, those are some of the people I thank, and I know I'm missing a ton more that helped you out. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
From one Patriot to another, Burchell's teammate Griffin Lockwood-Powell made the game look easy. But behind the mask, GLP was one of the hardest workers around. It made him one of the best in the state, and now he's a pro baseball player. Whenever you get into a conversation about Griffin Lockwood-Powell, people always mention his work ethic. Some of his favorite memories aren't of him starring in the game, but catching some no-hitters.
I know Parker threw a perfect game or a no-hitter one time. I know Nolan threw a no-hitter while I was catching, which was always cool. I mean, those guys are really good players.
Another impactful memory from his high school days was winning a title with his brother.
The first thing that comes to mind is winning the state championship my sophomore year with my brother Sam, because he was at third, I was at first. And it was obviously his last year of baseball, so it was cool we got to do that.
It was his bat that would take him to the next level. He hit over 500 as a senior and had some of the best power of anybody in the state. GLP's path took him to Central Michigan, where he starred for the Chippewas and ended up getting drafted into the Los Angeles Dodgers organization, where he is right now. Not your typical crafty left-handed high school pitcher, Spencer Coolwine sat hitters down with great control and velocity. The four-year letter winner starred for Coach Nick Cobb. As a senior, he was first-team All-State when he went 4-0 with a 0.68 ERA and 92 strikeouts in just 41 innings pitched. Sioux Falls Christian had some of their best teams while Spencer was the ace.
I always felt like, the guys that I was playing with, at least the, 11, 12 guys that were consistently starting, you had really good bonds and really good camaraderie. That was probably, a couple of the big things. I know we made a couple all right runs. I don't know if we ever made state, but, got close, came up short, but definitely hit a little bit harder being with guys that we were really close with in high school. And
he went on to pitch in the Summit League, decided to play for Nebraska Omaha.
So yeah, my junior senior year is when I started to get a little bit more attention for looks from a next level perspective.
Spencer is humble and says he couldn't have done it without his support system.
I mean, my family played a huge part. They always supported me, pushed me to be better than where I was at. So I mean, that helped a lot with the development side of things. Nick Cobb, and then he would bring in some pitching guys like Brandon Dewing and John Nagel, who both had some pro ball experience, so that helped a ton. And then, I had Zach Ireland, who helped a ton. Jacqueline Lure was a huge part of, he understood the Division I baseball of what it took to play at that level and try and pursue the pro ball side of things. So he helped a ton just from also being a left-handed pitcher, working strategy on that kind of thing.
Chase Corton went from a bat boy in 2011 to a varsity baseball player the next year as a 7th grader. That was the start of an elite career with Bonhomme.
A little intimidating to start with, but I grew up with all those guys and all the Tabor guys, and they welcomed me with open arms, and they were all my good buddies and still are my good buddies now. And
some of Corton's favorite memories revolve around his time playing high school baseball with his dad as the coach.
Well, that was my dad's, I guess you could say, specialty, so he taught me everything I know on that. But, no, I enjoyed pitching a lot because you felt more in control of the game, and then you could also win it with your hitting when you're on the mound. So we were usually pretty good, and it always used to come down to us, Vermilion and Dakota Valley. So my 7th grade year, we lost to Vermilion. I think they won it that year. Then 8th grade year, obviously, I made it there, and we lost to St. Thomas, won the championship. Then never made it after that.
Chase is grateful to several people for his success at the high school level.
First and foremost would be my old man. He taught me everything I know, so all kudos to him. And my mom also was #1 fan, screaming in the stands usually, so yelling at the umps. Then my assistant coach, I had Donnie Corton. Then a few more names I wrote down were Kevin Velick, Doug Vunichek also. My last 3 names I want to say is I played for the Sioux Falls Titans a few summers. Nolan Burchell and Griffin Lockwood-Powell are also on that team, and they're getting inducted this year, so it's pretty cool. But those coaches were Drew Shellhouse, John Linkelpleck, and Bruce Mogan. And those were the three of the nicest guys you'll ever meet and great baseball minds. So, yeah, I can't thank those guys enough.
Jed Schmidt posted a preeminent career at Mitchell High School with a 4-year all-state standard. In Mitchell, it's rare to be able to play 4 years of high school baseball, but when his head coach, Luke Norden, needed him as a freshman, Jed Schmidt was there.
Where Coach Norden believed in me and allowed me to play basically every game of my freshman season.
He had a breakout season as a sophomore when he batted .435. He helped his team to a second-place finish at state, something he appreciated, but he always wanted to win the big game.
My sophomore season was great as far as team-wise. We had a great group of seniors that year led by like Matt Larson and Tyler Hellman. We ended up losing in the South Dakota State Championship at the Birdcage, but that was a pretty great experience to really have great success.
While pitching, he was an ace, one of the best in the state, with a 2.08 ERA and 37 strikeouts. In his senior year, they had a great team once again and had a chance to beat Roosevelt, a team that was undefeated at the time, to get to state.
We were number 2 in the state that year. Roosevelt won it all. The Roosevelt team that's getting inducted this year, they beat us. Yeah, that was definitely a memorable season as well because we were super talented, and I think we kind of knew from the beginning of the season, like, that regional matchup with us and Roosevelt was probably going to decide the quote-unquote state title.
Jed has a lot of people to thank.
First and foremost, I'd definitely like to thank my parents. From the time I was able to throw baseball, they were super supportive of anything and anything any of us kids wanted to do. And that's just kind of the overnight travels, the long car rides. Number 2 would definitely be, as I talked about, all of the family members of my friends that I played with, because my parents couldn't always be there. Coach Norden is definitely a big reason why I'm here, and also Coach Mock. Matt Larson was a big factor. He also played as a very young individual, and so he was definitely more of like a mentorship piece for me.
One more honorary inductee on the other side of the break. We'll tell you how the Roosevelt Rough Riders etched their name into history as arguably the best team in state history. Welcome back to the South Dakota High School Baseball Association Hall of Fame special. The 2017 Roosevelt team did something no other Class A team has ever done. They went unbeaten and they won a state championship. But it was the motivation that came from losing in the 2016 playoffs that fueled that historic season.
The 2017 season really started in 2016. We had a very young team. We had only 2 seniors that year, Austin Wise and Austin Ryan. But they were upset that we lost in the first round, and that was kind of the springboard for having a great year the next year.
Where we really saw the potential was, all the guys got along really well. We hung out all the time.
Offensively, to have a guy like Isaac Nelson in the 3-hole who hit close to 450 and had an 1100 OPS, and then Nick Hookstra hitting, I think, 460 and a 1300 OPS, and this was with wood bats, so it's definitely the best offensive team that we've had. We'd set the tone with Gus Radell, who went 8-0, and then after that, Justin Aldrich 6-0, Jack Blogg 6-0, Kyle Gobranson went 4-0, Austin Portner was 5-0, Skylar McCauley went 2-0, and then Alex Fegan 1-0 and picked up a save, and Carlos Carroll picked up a win for us on the mound, so we were deep. And Midco Sports rated us as the #1 team, and we talked about we wanted to be wire-to-wire winners. We didn't want to be paper champions. So then I guess the undefeated thing was a bonus.
Well, see, I was big on I didn't want to talk about it, and a lot of us, you just didn't bring it up. It was just kind of day by day. Justin Aldrich liked to talk about it for sure, and had to keep him kind of reeled in a little bit because he liked to give it and talk about it at school, and had to keep him in check. But he actually did call it before we even got to Cocoa Beach. He said we weren't going to lose a game, so I guess give him credit.
Eric DeYoung and I had that conversation a couple times about, would it help us if we did kind of slip up and lose and kind of regain that fire, or do we need to just keep winning? And I kind of leaned toward, no, it's too late now. This was probably 15, 20 games in, and I said we need to just keep rolling. And I think that's the way the players took it too. We didn't talk about it a whole lot. We just talked about, you know, starting the week strong and finishing the week strong. And
we showed up to the field, and you know that feeling is hard to replicate. Of, you know, we none of us like really thought we were gonna lose ever. And, you know, it wasn't really said unless you're Justin Aldrich before the season. But like there was never like that pressure of like we just played and we won. And
we had a close game against O'Gorman. Won 3-1, and then we were actually down 3-0. That was probably our biggest deficit of the season. I think we had been behind by a couple runs to a few teams here and there, but that 3-run deficit was huge. I still remember Carter Aids had a 2 RBI single to get us tied up at 3, and then Mitchell went ahead by 1.
Kyle hit a ball that, like, I don't even know if it got to the dirt in the infield. It just kind of squibbed around, and he got in with that. It seemed to kind of spark a little something for us. But then obviously, you know, just the fight and the will. Like I said, there was like, if we had lost that game, you know, we would not have gone down. Like, we were going to go down fighting if we were going to lose that game. There was no other way to do it.
Everybody knows what eventually happened though with the Nick Hoekstra grand slam.
As soon as he hit it, you knew it was gone, and it was just more of like a relief than anything else. And then the joy and the excitement took over for sure. And then realized, you know, back to work.
We were probably more business-like for the state tournament.
Completes its perfect season with its 4th state title.
I mean, that was family for sure.
But those seniors were special. Alex Denovan, Alex Fegan, Kyle Gobranson, Justin Aldrich, Isaac Nelson, and Jack Simonson. We're just a phenomenal group of guys to coach.
Congratulations to all the athletes and to the Roosevelt 2017 team that was honored. We'll see you next year.